Dark Secrets Behind Wall Street, Part 3, prepared by Father-Son Team, George and Dana Brown. Well, what's this fine print on the left here? It's too small to read, so let's see what's there. Oh, and the private Federal Reserve, that's the mother corporation. So let's see what's going on here. Wall Street and the Federal Reserve, they're all tied together. Now we're going to talk about the natural supply and demand explained by Adam Smith. The natural supply and demand is quite simple. Now, Adam Smith wrote Wealth of Nations in 1776. The former professor of moral philosophy at the University of Glasgow. So here's Adam Smith, the father of modern economics, The Wealth of Nations, 1776. His little book there, The Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. So let's go back and look at it. The Youthful Growth Company, the supply and demand curves form an X, a very narrow X, steep sides and so forth. And the V in the middle is the value, the natural value that's put on there. So the natural supply and demand curves, now you have the older established company has a relatively flat curve, the X. Okay, so let's look at the X now. We have the demand curve goes down from left to right, and from left to right the supply curve goes up, and the price line runs around this, seeking the value in the center. Now we have in the stock markets and other markets, you have a little X that falls on the price line, and that X is the same as this large X. The large X is over a large period of time, and a small X would be a couple days, a couple weeks, or 1 week. When the price goes up, hits the supply line, the demand is much higher, so the price goes straight up. And then it stays relatively balanced as it goes across the top, and then when it reaches the supply line again, the price drops. The demand is way down, so the price drops. The demand has been supplied. Okay, and across the bottom, it then starts across the bottom and it starts up again. Okay, now manipulating the market is also quite simple for the market operators, selling counterfeit receipts representing legitimate securities while protected by organized crimes agents. So here's a rather confusing picture here now. When the price line across the bottom, for example, is manipulated down and the value goes up a little bit because the company's doing quite well or reasonably well in good times, then the price line would become very, very volatile. The price line would want to go all the way up to the red demand line. You see it hits the bottom and it would want to go up to the top. So it becomes very volatile at that point. So you can see by moving the value up a little bit more, it goes higher. And if you move the value down, why, the whole X would flatten out. So the object of the market operators is to move the market down. People will sell. Now, note that the supply line is infinite in today's markets because today's markets sell bogus counterfeit receipts. So they have an endless supply of these things. It's CD company is the one that mails them out. Manipulating price is simple for the market operators. Move price up 12 cents for buyers of 1 million shares. You want to move the price down. I want to move the price down. I want to manipulate it down. So the price is moved down 25 cents for a seller of 100 shares. The overall price move is down 13 cents for 900 shares on the buy side, contrary to public supply and demand. Look at 1 million shares on the buy side, down 100 shares. The U.S. Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations acknowledged receipt of documentation regarding criminal activities on Wall Street in a letter, their letter now, dated January 30, 1974, but then did nothing, absolutely nothing. January 30, 1974. Dear Mr. Brown, on behalf of Senator Jackson, the chairman of the United States Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, I want to extend to you his gratitude for your recent correspondence pertaining to the serious inequities in the operation and implementation of federal law enforcement resources. Your letter and its enclosures were forwarded to my office in view of the subcommittee's responsibility to analyze all aspects of organized crime and the theft and traffic of stolen securities. The materials which you have submitted have been read with considerable interest by both me and Senator Jackson. In his capacity as chairman of the United States Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, Senator Jackson is aggressively pursuing a number of inquiries relating to the intricate tie-in between the operations of organized crime and stock manipulations, as well as to the role of various law enforcement agencies and their oversight responsibility in connection with these activities. Therefore, the information which you have provided is of invaluable assistance to the subcommittee and has been made available to those members of my investigative staff currently involved in these undertakings. I can assure you that if additional information is needed, a member of my staff will be in contact with you. Thank you again for your correspondence. Sincerely, signed, Howard J. Feldman, Chief Counsel. He's Chief Counsel for the Subcommittee on Investigations. Paola. Houses on Barilla Lane were selling for $39,000 or less. Our home was illegally seized by the federal government for taxes we did not owe because the federal government was a party to the theft between $5 and $8 million. That's shortly after our letters to the U.S. Senate. Our home at 344 Barilla Lane, Cocoa Beach, Florida, 32931 was illegally seized and resold for $520,000 in 1976. Again, that was payola when houses were selling for $39,000 or less.